Alright, welcome back trainers to another episode. Yeah, we have a nice little surprise for our shiny for the day, and then stick around towards the end to see that. Alright, so now for our first set of Pokemon Go Master League battles. It's Kamasuya, and we are gonna lead with Conkeldurr, going up against Dialga. This is our next day of testing with Conkeldurr as a lead. But yeah, obviously unfavorable matchup, so I switch over to Togekiss. And then lead with the Shadow Ball. I opted to not use my shield because I wanted to preserve it for the long run. And then here, I believe I decide to... Nope, yep, I do. I decide to save my Togekiss. Alright, in comes the Melmetal. That gives me a Flamethrower so I can turn around and answer back. And thankfully he doesn't shield that. So down goes my Togekiss, in comes Conkeldurr. And then I go for the farm down here. But yeah, he's going to go for a superpower here before he goes down. I let it go through. And then now I have Dynamic Punch, and thankfully it's against a Dialga. So yeah, go for the first Dynamic Punch, push for a second one. He's going to shield this one next. And then that should be enough to burn through his shields. And now finally, our answer, Dialga versus Dialga. With this one, I have one shield left, so I can shield up the Iron Head, and go for a farm down, but he forfeit before it could actually get to my Iron Head. Yeah, we saw the outcome of that match anyway. Next up is Tabibi Toro. It's Conkeldurr versus Dialga. Yeah, he switches right away because he knows it's an unfavorable matchup. I go for Togekiss. And then here comes the Shadow Ball. I shield it to protect my Togekiss after learning from the last battle just to use the first one right away regardless. And then once again, he's going to go ahead and go for an Ominous Wind, which gives me some extra health to survive. Yep, here's the Melmetal. Because it's Melmetal, I go for Flamethrower, and then I know that this is going to be Togekiss's last run before it faints. Yeah, he goes for the Thunderbolt, or sorry, he's going to go for the Rock Slide. Togekiss is going to go down, and then I bring back Conkeldurr into the battle. But yeah, and then after that, I try to attempt a farm down, but then I realize that I could get a Dynamic Punch in before he goes for a Superpower. He shields, I let the Superpower go through, and then he's going to go for another superpower, and I just learned just to shield up again, just to preserve my Conkeldurr. Down goes his Melmetal, in comes his Dialga, and then I go for another set of Dynamic Punches. Whew! Look at that damage. Alright, next up is Pizaka versus Giratina, not a favorable lead, so I just build up a little bit of energy, get ready to switch over to Dialga. Now it's Dialga versus Dialga. Yeah, with this, I believe I pretend to go for a Draco Meteor to bait a shield, and I go for an Iron Head, and it worked as intended, so I go for an Iron Head here, because I know if you go for an Iron Head against a Dialga, you're not going to make it to a Draco Meteor. So I get the Iron Head off, and then he finishes off my Dialga, down goes that. Now I bring in Togekiss. He's going for an Iron Head, I go ahead and shield it, and then down goes the Dialga. And next up is Togekiss versus Togekiss. My charge move of choice here is to go straight for the Rock Slide. Oh, sorry, Ancient Power. And then farm it down as much as I can before I shield up. Before I switch into the next Pokemon. But yeah, it's Giratina versus Togekiss. Oh, this is going to be a fun little ending. It was an ultimate question, like, can Conkeldurr take down Giratina with just Stone Edge spam? So, yeah, with this, here comes the Shadow Sneak, and then I go for another Stone Edge. He goes for his Dragon Claw. Shadow Sneak, there we go. And then I go for my Stone Edge, and it was just enough. Look at that, tiny sliver of health. I guess if he went for Dragon Claw, or if he had Dragon Claw, it would have been a different matchup, but instead he went for Shadow Sneak. No judging, but it is what it is. Melmetal versus Conkeldurr, unfavorable, so he switches over to Kyogre. I opt to switch over to Dialga. And then after that, it's like a little farm down. And then I go for an Iron Head to bait a shield, even though I pretend to look like I'm going for a Draco Meteor. And then I shield up to preserve my Dialga. He goes for a Surf, and then down goes his Kyogre. And then he follows that up with Melmetal. So I didn't think I was going to make it. Oh, you know what? I did. I went for Draco Meteor just because it was going to be Dialga's last hurrah, and thankfully he didn't shield that, so it takes out a huge chunk of its health so that Conkeldurr can come in and clean up. But yeah, he goes for a Rock Slide, down goes Dialga, in comes Conkeldurr. He's going to go for a superpower here. I decided to shield up last second because I had a feeling it was going to be a superpower, and then here comes the second superpower. And then down goes his Melmetal. Oh, he preserves it actually. So in comes Togekiss. I go for a Stone Edge and he shields it. So I just go ahead and go for my Togekiss, and now it's just burned down. But yeah, I don't think this goes in my favor, as you can tell, because it's one Togekiss versus a Togekiss with the shield, and then my Conkeldurr's like close to fainting. But yeah, obviously it's gonna end in a loss. Good match, but let's just take a quick little break from the Pokemon Go battles and switch over to a Sword and Shield rank battle. But yeah, I've been experiencing a lot of success with this team. It's different, and I found a way to make a team that's built around Morpeko succeeding if I choose to bring him into a battle, while also having Drag Ball in for the weakness policy. It's just two different ways to hit the opponent. Plus, there's more match diversity compared to like yesterday's episode. But yeah, since I knew that he was gonna G-max his Toxtricity, I opted to switch in Gastrodon. So yeah, there's a Toxtricity, bringing Gastrodon. He goes for, I had the Aura Wheel, because I went for the Aura Wheel because I knew that it was going to be a 2-hit KO in order to bring down Chandelure, because he's probably Focus Sashed. So yeah, I go for the Aura Wheel. He went for the G-Max Stun Shock, and it was resisted because Electric is immune. Ground's immune to Electric. He goes for the Stun Shock on the Morpeko to take me out. Gastrodon gets paralyzed. Morpeko goes down, but I was able to take down his Chandelure. But I go for the Earth Power because 4 times weakness, and Toxtricity is extremely frail. So down goes Toxtricity. In comes my Incineroar. And then in comes his, what's it called? Gyarados. So yeah, it's just double melee. I just thought, great, it's 2 Pokemon left. I can pivot out Incineroar to drop their attack. Yeah, and then in comes my Dragon Ball, because I wanted to absorb an attack, but he goes for the power up so that he could can take out my Incineroar with Waterfall. But again, I go for double Intimidate to be able to tank everything. And then I opt to Dynamax my Dragon Ball, since he's probably the better choice between the two. That, and I can go for more attack stat drops. So I go for a Fake Out to break the Focus Sash onto his Excadrill if it's Focus Sashed, and then Max Wormwind to lower their attack even more. He goes for a Waterfall, hits like a wet noodle, and then at the next turn, Gyarados protects. I kind of predicted that, so I opted for that move. I went for Max Phantasm onto the Excadrill, and then he goes for a Rock Slide to cleave both of us. I go for a Max Wormwind. Down goes the Gyarados. And all that's left is to go for a Flare Blitz onto the Excadrill. And then that's our first win for the set out of the 3. Yeah, overall, I'm happy with this team. It's better suited for the playstyle I was going for. Alright, back to Pokemon Go. There's Turcomat, Conkeldurr versus Dialga. Unfavorable matchup on their end, so I anticipate a switch very soon. But he took me by surprise by staying in. But yeah, Conkeldurr goes for Iron Head, I shield it, then he brings in Giratina. I opt for a Stone Edge. And then after that, I bring in Dialga, and then try to farm down his Giratina with my Dialga, so that way I have a charge move ready for when he brings back in his Dialga. But yeah, in comes Dialga. I go for an Iron Head to bait a shield, and then farm it down, and then I bring in Conkeldurr to burn down his Dialga. And then finally we have Melmetal versus Conkeldurr. It's a nice little matchup we have here. But yeah, Dynamic Punch to force a shield, then I bring in Rhyperior because I don't want to have him farm up energy for a superpower. There's a superpower. I go for a Surf because it's the better move to choose from between Rock Wrecker and Surf. There's a superpower, and then I just try to go for a farm down. Here's my shield. Do I shield? I don't shield. Why did I not shield? Oh, it doesn't matter. I still won. Alright, next up is Peter. Peter versus Kyogre. Or sorry, Conkeldurr versus Kyogre. It's kind of a neutral matchup, but then I opt to try and test some things out on this matchup. But yeah, so Dynamic Punch onto Kyogre. He doesn't shield, so I try to get ready to switch because I know that I need to take this thing out. But yeah, again, I bring in Dialga. They go for the Surf, and then he swaps out to Dialga. I go for a Draco Meteor because I thought that I was going to go down here, and he shields it. So that burns through its shields. And then I believe I bring in Conkeldurr. Yep, I bring in Conkeldurr to soak up an Iron Head and then try to farm it down. Because I believe I want to go for as much energy as possible here to go up against the Kyogre, but unfortunately it didn't flow well because down goes my Conkeldurr, and then now it's a Rhyperior versus a Kyogre. Obviously that's not going to go well with a Surf. Down goes Rhyperior and the win goes to them. But yeah, what can you do? Alright, so next up, I decided to keep that in. Oh well. So next up is Artemis Star. Now it's Kyogre versus Conkeldurr yet again. So let's try to see if I redeem myself here by figuring out a different counter to them. But yeah, I go for the Dynamic Punch, the force a shield. And then I go for one more Dynamic Punch to force another shield. You go ahead and shield it. And then I go for... Yeah, I guess I let him go down because I wanted to try something different. I guess I was just trying to experiment here. But yeah, I believe I could switch in and out, so I could just go for a Draco Meteor and then switch to Rhyperior. Yeah, and then of course here comes Dragon Claw into the Rhyperior. And then I'm gonna try to go for a Rock Wrecker here, but I let his attacks go through. And unfortunately, because of how bulky it is, this Rock Wrecker isn't going to do a lot of damage against the Giratina, but it is going to put a sizable dent into it before I switch back in. So I shield this, I go for the Dragon Claw, and then in comes the Kyogre, and then this took me by surprise next too. He goes for a Surf, and then I thought that, and then that I wasn't expecting that he had enough energy saved up for two Surfs. But yeah, what can you do? Can't predict everything. Over Z is Conkeldurr versus Dragonite. Unfavorable matchup because because all I can really do is go for a Stone Edge against it. He goes for a Dragon Claw. I just try to farm up energy towards a full charge move, and then he brings in a Rhyperior, goes for the Mud Shot to farm me down. I go for an Iron Head. He's most likely going to shield it here, which he does, and then farms me down. Now he has full energy, so I just decided to go with Conkeldurr, shield the attack, and then I believe I try to farm it down to get more energy. Yep, I do, because there we go. He goes for a Superpower, and then there's Metagross, Stone Edge. Oh yeah, I was predicting that he was going to bring... This was a really good switch on his part. Yeah, he brings that in, and then he brings in Metagross to soak up the Stone Edge because I thought he was gonna bring in Dragonite, and then after that, yeah, he brings in Dragonite, go for a Dynamic Punch, and then I waste two charge moves, and that cost me the game. All right, so that was a disappointing set. Let's switch back over to Pokemon Sword and Shield for the ranked battle, our second battle. Here we have Hatterene and Indeedee lead versus Morpeko and Incineroar. Just kind of the setup that I was opting for. But yep, I go for the Intimidate, obviously, because it's Incineroar's ability. He goes for an Ally Switch, which surprised me. I go for an Aura Wheel onto his Hatterene, and then Snarl to lower the special attack, because I was anticipating that they would set up a Trick Room. And there it is. Predicted that. I wasn't expecting the Ally Switch, but now here's the Follow Me. Morpeko is in hangry mode, so I go for the Aura Wheel onto the Indeedee. Go for the Snarl for another attack drop so that he hesitates, so that my opponent would hesitate on G-maxing its Hatterene. But yeah, Aura Wheel takes out the... What's it called? Yep, Aura Wheel will take out Indeedee, and then I switch to Gastrodon. I believe it was to either preserve my Morpeko for later, since it was a speed disadvantage. Either that, or I had Gastrodon come in to soak an attack from, I can't remember its name anymore, even though I used it a lot in Gen 6. Anchorman or whatever. This anchor ghost. But yeah, since I was kind of gimped on the options that I could use here, I just decided to Dynamax my Incineroar, even though it's not the most ideal candidate, but it can at least tank. But yeah, go for the Max Flare, and then I kind of panicked because it went for Steel Spike, and I thought that it was Weakness Policy, and I thought I made a bad decision. So he goes for the Max Phantasm onto Incineroar. Incineroar is tanking it, both of those attacks. And then I go for the Skull and Gastrodon because I took too long to figure out what to use. So I used Max Flare because I was gonna take out the Hatterene to prevent another Trick Room. But yeah, there it is. Max Phantasm onto Gastrodon. Down goes Gastrodon. I go for the Max Flare onto Darmanitan because it's one more turn of Trick Room left. And of course he has a Focus Sash, which works out in my favor. Yep, he goes for Ice Punch. I barely survive it and then have my Berry to save me. In comes Morpeko. Trick Room's over. Morpeko's going to go for a Fake Out to finish off the Darmanitan. And Incineroar can go for a speed advantage Flare Blitz to save the day. So yep, down goes Anchor Ghost, and then we get the win. Alright, now let's switch back to Pokemon Go. Azure Dragon East. It's Conkeldurr versus Giratina. Again, I'm at the disadvantage. It's funny how I switch over to Conkeldurr and all of a sudden all the metal leads are going away. But yeah, Conkeldurr going up against, and then bringing Dialga. He uses Metagross, and once again, I'm at a disadvantage as far as what to switch into. I cannot wait until Mewtwo gets Shadow Ball and Psytrike, because Mewtwo's going to be my pivot, my switch in. But yeah, it's Metagross versus Conkeldurr. I try to go for a farm down. Meteor Mash. Yeah, I'm able to live that, and then I save up energy for Giratina to go for a Stone Edge on the Giratina. Go for another Stone Edge. I believe he shields here. Yep, it was a shield. So now that he had one shield left and I needed to keep my Conkeldurr alive for whatever's in the back, he goes for Ominous Wind. And then I just try to farm up as much energy as I can with Rhyperior before he goes for the Shadow Ball. There's a Shadow Ball. Rhyperior barely survives. There's a Heatran, so I just go for Surfs, because that way I can at least bait a shield out of him. And then here we get hit with lag. Yep, just chilling, waiting for the lag. Any minute now. There we go. Yeah, this match was like riddled with lag. I was kind of like face palming, waiting for it to get moving. But yep, and then there's a Surf. We wait again. There we go. Down goes the Heatran, and of course, it looks like they either disconnected, rage quit. I don't know what they did, but either way, the match is over with. I just farmed down, and then that was it. Yep, sorry for the disconnect or whatever happened, but either way, win's a win. Bluefin X. It's Giratina versus Conkeldurr. Another unfavorable matchup on my end, so I bring in Rhyperior. And then Rhyperior is going to soak up the Shadow Ball. I, in turn, go for Rock Wrecker. Am I going to go for Rock Wrecker? No, I went for a Surf to bait a shield. So there's a Surf, baiting a shield, and Giratina is going to just keep farming up energy. So I just figured might as well go for a Rock Wrecker, and it worked. I was able to take out the Giratina before it could make another move. And I switched my lineup because I was still coming up with issues with this team, trying to figure out the right partners for Conkeldurr. Because again, if I had it my way, I would have had a Landorus ready for this, but I don't have Stardust and I don't have Candy because Landorus is a new Pokemon. So it's going to take a little bit of time to have everything that I need, especially when you need like 300 candies for Landorus. Again, that would be my ideal partner, but it's going to take time to get to it. Landorus T might come out by then. But anyway, back to the match here. Melmetal versus Togekiss. Go for Thunderbolt. And then I believe I go for a farm down after I realize that Thunderbolt is kind of inefficient compared to just spamming Rock Slide. And then down goes Togekiss. That's our win. Tia or Maria. Oh, look, there's my son. It's Aiden. Oh, he's so happy. I love that kid. I have twin boys, for those that don't know. Oh, look, there we go. So this is going to be the hard mode, is like being totally distracted this whole match. Spoiler alert, I lose because I just prioritize like being there with my son. Anyway, Rhyperior, Shadow Ball onto from the Giratina. And then I have no shields left. He's going to go for another Shadow Ball. And then I in turn go for a Surf to bait a shield. And he shields just as I predicted. So I go for another Surf because I thought that I can get the burn down here. There we go. That was just enough. So down goes that. And then in comes Dialga. Since it's Dialga, I bring in Conkeldurr, but I get ready to switch because I knew I didn't want my Conkeldurr to go down just yet. So he goes for an Iron Head, and that's Melmetal versus Melmetal. He doesn't know that I was running Thunderbolt and Rock Slide. At least that's what I was betting. So I went for Thunderbolt. Oh yeah, I just didn't reveal my second move. So he goes for a Rock Slide. Oh yeah, because Thunderbolt would actually do more damage. Yeah, it hits neutrally. Down goes the Superpower, and then there we go. I go for Dynamic Punch. I farm the Melmetal, and then I farm up towards another Dynamic Punch before he can Iron Head me down. But yeah, here's a Dynamic Punch, and down goes the Giratina or Dialga. It's another win. Okay, so now next up, this is our last match for this showcase. This is Rhyperior being against Conkeldurr, unfavorable, so he switches. I switch to Rhyperior. And then I shield this because I predicted Shadow Ball. And then I farm up towards a Rock Wrecker, and then bait the shield with a Surf. So there's a Surf, bait the shield. I hope I go for a Rock Wrecker here. Yep, there's a Shadow Ball again because I just want to take out this Giratina so that the rest of my team can run amok on them. Yeah, there's a Rock Wrecker, he shields it, and that throws me for a loop because now he's going to farm me down with Shadow Ball. He's going to burn me down with Shadow Ball. There's a Shadow Ball. I bring in Melmetal to clean up, and then go for a Rock Slide to take out the Giratina. There's a Rock Slide before he can throw a Shadow Ball up my way. I bring in Conkeldurr to go up against his Rhyperior before he can get a charge move off. Down goes the Rhyperior, and then in comes my Conkeldurr going for the Dynamic Punch onto Dialga, and down it goes. Yep, that's a good way to end it. So now let's just go ahead and show off our last Pokemon, our last ranked doubles for this set. There we go. But yep, once again, it's Noir. I like that lead card. Okay, so Noir leads with Lucario and Charizard. I lead with Dusclops and Dragapult. So yep, I go for the Dynamax, and then because I was anticipating that they were gonna G-Max their Charizard. So my prediction was to go for a Shadow Sneak to activate my weakness policy. And then I knew that whatever move Charizard would do, they don't have Sunny Day up, so I would be able to tank any move it throws at us. So I go for Max Airstream onto Lucario, since +2 with a Max Airstream would be enough to take out a Lucario. There's a Max Airstream, down goes Lucario, and then in comes, and then what does Charizard do? G-Max Wildfire onto my Dusclops. Dusclops tanks it incredibly well because I have him as a special defense tank. In comes my Lotic. He goes for a shield. I go for an ally switch because I thought that he was going to go for Max Airstream onto my Dragapult, but instead Charizard shields. I go for Max Phantasm, and now that makes Charizard extremely weak now because I have +2 in attack. He has -1 in defense, so the Max Phantasm is going to be enough to take out this Charizard. There we go. One hit. Down goes the Charizard. And then next up I go for the Phantom Force because, oh no, he goes for the Phantom Force. So finally, for the final part of this set, he goes for Phantom Force. I went for Phantom Force because I knew that he was going to use it on my Dragapult. I tank it, burn him while my Phantom Forces disappeared. Down goes my Dusclops, and then in comes Morpeko just to bring a smile to the end of this match. And there we go. That's another W. We went 3-0, which I was extremely happy about. And now for our final, and now for the shiny. It was a Falinks. This is our shiny of the day. And spoiler alert, I caught it. So that's it for today's video. And it does have battle armor. And what else? Yep, it's battle armor. Yep, that's it for today's video. Thanks again for watching. Feel free to leave a like, a comment, or a subscribe. And don't forget to follow us on Twitch and Twitter to be informed on when I drop the next video on YouTube or when I go live on Twitch. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.